Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Rush Roots. Today we have Tal Shram from Toronto, Ontario, Canada, with the Maple Leafs poster in the background. He says he doesn't even like hockey. And to, today we're going to learn all about his Rush roots. So, Jim, go ahead.
All right, cool. Hey, so Tal, hey, why don't you tell us how you heard about Rush, what got you into them, and what keeps you around?
All right. So when I was in grade three, or as the third grade, as Americans would say, there were a few cases where I
Yeah.
heard about the band. So first of all, I played drums, and one of my teacher at the time thought I was ready for Rush music, even though I've only been playing for a few months. And I remember he gave me the sheet music for Tom Sawyer, and I wanted to literally pass out. Uh,
Yeah.
that was like I think one of the first of two times I've heard the band. Also, in March of that year, I remember going to I went a family trip to Mexico, and we realized that another family that we knew was people that go to my
What,
school
what,
went to the same. Sorry,
what year was this, by the way?
this was 2014.
Okay. I'm just trying to get an idea of where Rush was in their career when you were. That's why I
Yes, I guess
asked.
in between Clockwork and R40.
Yeah. Okay.
And anyway, the father of those two people that I knew, like we started spending time together in the resort in Mexico after we found out they were together. And I told him I play drums, and he's like, "Oh, you ever heard of Neil Peart?" He pronounced it incorrectly, but it's okay. And I'm like, "No, I don't think so." And I can't remember if that was before or after the sheet music thing. And he said, you gotta check that guy out. He's like best drummer ever. I'm like, okay. And it took some time before I actually like grew to appreciate the music, but that was when I started to get myself familiar with the hits, Tom Sawyer, Limelight, 2112, Spirit of Radio, just the classics. It wasn't until a couple years later that I sort of did more of a deep dive into their catalog. And unfortunately, I wouldn't say I would consider myself a real fan until like mid to late 2016. So over a year after they, went on their R40 tour. So it was a little heartbreaking, but I guess better late than never. So now I've been an avid fan for like 6 years. So it feels like a long time. I already feel like I've grown with the band, even though I'm only 18.
Yeah.
So I guess that's kind of nice. And I also remember in a couple of those COVID years, I like did more of a deep listen to some albums that I didn't really give a chance before, especially
Hmm.
Hold Your Fire, Presto, Roll the Bones, which are like my three favorite Rush albums now. So,
Oh,
well, actually,
wow.
and Power Windows, but like those three became three of my favorites. And I
Yeah.
was I was more of a fan of the earlier eras before then, and then that kind of turned me into a convert when I like put my headphones on and like you gotta give these albums a shot.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's
That's
pretty much my
awesome.
story.
That's great. And yeah, and those albums, the like sort of the 80s ones you mentioned and stuff, they're great songwriting and of course great playing on them, right? But so you really got started to really dive into them and get into them after R40, so that you have not seen them live,
That's
I'm
right.
guessing, right? So if you had to go back in time and pick any show you wanted to go to see, what would you want to go see?
Can I say a few?
Sure.
He's
Because
gonna start. He's gonna start listing off every single tour they were.
I've seen 13 tours, so yeah, you could name multiple ones.
I feel like it's like I wish I could like combine elements from like several tours into like one show, because
Yeah.
I feel like I would have loved to see around like this time, the time of the three albums I said, Hold Your Fire, Presto, Roll the Bones tours. They were so musically tight at that point. Like Getty sounded amazing. I love Neil's Ludwig drums,
Oh
the
yeah, me
PRS
too.
guitars, the wall bass. I really love that. I love that sound. I feel like that they were so tight in that time. Had a great set lists. At that was the time when they did also do those wicked encore medleys. But I also appreciated how a little bit later in the career, even if Getty's voice started to fall by around, I'd say, Time Machine or second half of Snakes and Arrows, he started to. I'm not criticizing, but sometimes they made it a little more difficult for him to sing the old material. So,
Yeah.
but I appreciated how they seem to focus more on replicating the album sounds, particularly from the synth era, whereas sampling instead of recreating on the spot those
Mm,
those songs.
right.
If you listen to like a good example is like songs on Power Windows, like Manhattan Project. On the Clockwork Angels tour, Geddy sampled all of those sounds you heard on the album, all the backing vocals. I love when they sample those, by the way, because I feel like those really make the song. And on the older tours, when the technology, the sampling technology wasn't as advanced, it would often be like Alex would replace Geddy as the backup vocalist, and I didn't love that so much always. So if I could have seen a tour with the musical prowess of the late 80s to early 90s, with the accuracy of the album sound from the later tours, that's probably what I would pick. So I guess if I had to pick like top two, maybe I'd say like I'll go like Roll the Bones tour for the energy and the set lists, which I was really into the set list on that tour, and the Clockwork Angels tour for the abundance of Power Windows songs. So.
Yeah. That's awesome. Yeah. Two great tours for sure. Two really great tours.
And if I could have seen them in Brazil with that crowd energy, I just would.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That would have been amazing.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
It's awesome, man.
All right. Well, excuse me. The next question is to kind of see how, it probably feels like an eternity for you, but I guess in the short amount of time that you've been a Rush fan, like kind of how your preferences have evolved, your favorites have evolved over time, or if maybe they haven't, but so I kind of want to know like what your first favorite song was that you gravitated to, and first favorite album that you gravitated to. And you can say greatest hits album if there's a greatest hits. I mean, there's a multiple greatest hits albums, that's fine, versus how that compares to today, like what song or what album is your go-to for today.
All right, so around that time, like in late 2016, when I started to become a real fan, the song that I feel like turned me into that fan was YYZ. I remember after listening to that song, I'm like, wow, like such incredible musicianship here. And I went to go learn it on drums right away, posted a cover that's still on my YouTube channel, by the way, which I'll talk about later. It's terrible quality, and I've hopefully improved a little bit since then. I wouldn't say that's my favorite Rush song anymore. So I guess I could just like as most casual fans would say, I guess I would say Moving Pictures was my first favorite Rush album, and Why Was That was my first favorite song. But fast forwarding to now, I want to have so much more of an appreciation for the mid 80s and 90s stuff, with the thought-provoking lyrics by Neil and the more complex, less proggy, but like equally as, if not more complex arrangements of songs. I would have to say my favorite album now is Hold Your Fire, and my favorite song from its predecessor, Power Windows, Marathon. I would have loved to see that song live. Ryan, I know you have. Jim, you probably have as well.
Yes.
It's just like, must have been an ethereal experience, especially how they did it on the first three tours when the lights came out in the end, when they went into halftime. They didn't do that on Time Machine, but they did that on the first three tours. And it just like must have felt like magic.
Listen, but on Time Machine, they shot fireworks off, and I may have done doo-doo in my pants because of that. At least the first time when I didn't know it was coming.
John and the dog.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Especially inside venues.
Yeah.
Sure. So you, Jim, I guess I could.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
Transition was so poor.
Do it.
You mentioned your YouTube channel. Why don't you tell us? Why don't you plug that? And why don't you tell us where people can find you?
All right. So yes, I have a YouTube channel where it's a channel where I post like mostly, if not all, like Rush covers on drums. It's called Meadmac, MEDMAC 2112, no spaces. My first video was a YYZ cover, and my last video currently is a YYZ cover as well, with the exit stage left drum solo in there. So if anyone's interested in that, then definitely go check it out. Hope you guys like it. And I'm also pretty active on Rush's subreddit, where my username u/meadmac_2112, where I've done a few competitions. If you guys participated in the opening track Survivor or the latter half of the closing track Survivor, that was me running it. So I had a lot of fun doing that. I feel like I must have exhausted all of you guys by doing this for so long. So I might take a little break from it for now, but I still post on there and comment on there for quite frequently. My flair is Glory Rolls On By, of course, for my favorite song. So that's how you can.
I think you exhausted yourself doing them, because I've done some similar things with Rush fans, and my God, but yeah. In fact, I remember you I think you commented to me. I was commenting on one of the brackets or one of the survivors, and you said to me, "Hey, is this Ryan from Rush Fans?" I was like, "Yeah,
Yeah,
it is." So yeah,
that's how it
yeah,
started. That's how you discovered me. So that's pretty cool.
yeah, good stuff. Yeah,
Would never have
definitely.
been a Rush fans admin if it weren't for that. So
There you go.
Yeah.
We'll definitely check out Tal's survive well, his YouTube channel obviously, but some of the survivors that he's doing on Reddit, and I'm sure you know something will happen in the future with that. But
yeah, I'll
anything
definitely.
else you want to share about your Rush fandom? Any other stories, any other facts, anything like that? You ever bump into Getty in Toronto? Anything?
Oh, actually, I should have mentioned that. I met Geddy Lee when he did his Book of Bass signing over in Richmond Hill, Ontario. Um, and so I have that up over there. It's up high on a shelf, so I don't know if I'll be able to get it out, but I pretty happy with that.
Yeah.
That's
And
awesome.
yeah, and of course, um, like I also play a little bit of bass, but drums is my main instrument. I did a couple bass covers. I did a bass cover of Free Will, but then I realized that actually my thing with bass is slap, and Getting didn't really do much of that. So I do most Rush stuff on drums, and
Yeah.
yeah, definitely check out my channel if you guys have time. I'd really appreciate it.
That's awesome.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I think
Heck
that's
yeah.
pretty much it.
All right. Well, if you're watching, you can definitely catch Tal on Rush Roundtable. And if you want to come on and share your own Rush roots, feel free to shoot us an email. Very simple. Rushfans@rushfans.net. And we'll have you on probably season 3 is booked up, but probably have you on in the future, season 4, season 5, whatever. So if you want to share your Rush roots, just shoot us an email, rushfans@rushfans.net, and we'll have you on. All right, Tal, thanks very much, and take
Thanks,
care,
man.
everybody.
Bye, everyone.